Welcome back, and today I'm going to continue with the exploration of deep order mathematics, basically picking up from where I left off yesterday. And yesterday we had arrived at this notion of the positive and the negative physical, vital and mental states. And just to quickly summarize, we had said that stability is a function of the positive physical orientation leading. Stagnation is a function of the negative physical orientation leading. Energy is a function of the positive vital orientation leading. Entropy is a function of the negative vital orientation leading. Sustainability is a function of the mental positive orientation leading. And fragmentation is a function of the negative mental orientation leading. Now, just to put that in a quick context, against our universal model of development, organizational development that arises in any causal wedge, we have from fullness in space the emergence of possibility that goes through a trajectory of development. And when we're talking about the three phases, the physical, vital, and mental, typically the first phases to emerge are more on the negative orientation for the physical, vital, mental. And the issue is, what is it that's going to lead to the positive orientation for each of these conditions or each of these phases? So what is it that's going to lead to the physical, vital, and mental positive orientations, which obviously then gives rise to these conditions of stability, energy, sustainability, as opposed to stagnation, entropy, and fragmentation. And obviously this is of interest to any kind of organization development, any market development, any systems development. We would want a situation where there is greater stability, greater energy, and greater sustainability, as opposed to a condition where there's stagnation, entropy, and fragmentation. So yesterday we had also come up with this geometric representation which summarizes the play of forces, and it's basically two intersecting triangles where the mental positive orientation, the mental negative orientation, the vital positive, vital negative, and the physical positive orientation leading and the physical negative orientation leading. And what we had said is that this play of forces is obviously present in any circumstance, and the natural drive is for each of these forces to pull in its own direction. And so long as that happens, then there's always going to be a bias, there's always going to be investment in something that is never integrative or never really can realize the full potential of a situation. And what we want to do is, ideally, we want some kind of integration between all these different forces to occur so that there is the possibility of a more complete and holistic understanding, and not only an understanding but an integration of these different drivers, which is the basis of any vaster unity or even of the arisal of love. So we want a reversal where rather than seeking outward in their own direction, there's a seeking inward that allows almost a witness state to be created, and therefore a greater understanding of the different play of possibility. Now, if we were to represent this by an equation, then we may say that this witness state, if you will, is really going to be achieved through the integration of all these drivers, and we represent that by the physical negative orientation leading, the physical positive orientation leading, the vital negative orientation leading, vital positive orientation leading, mental negative orientation leading, and mental positive orientation leading. And what we're suggesting is that if this occurs, there's an integration, a unification, a greater understanding of all the different possibilities within a space, and the ability even to move between these different abilities or these different drivers and to change things, which is, I would even say, the prerequisite for love, so of unification or love. So certainly to have this condition be true would reverse the investment in the negative side or the negative orientation and set it up for investment in the positive orientation. So that's one condition for transformation to occur. Earlier on, perhaps a couple of months ago, we had talked about the emotional structure that is also a result of the tightly bonded physical, vital, and mental, where the vital gives rise to a feeling, and we know therefore that whenever we do have a negative kind of feeling, whether it's of depression or anxiety or haste or despair or whatever it might be, that there's usually some kind of mental driver there, and it's occurring within some physical location. And when we're invested in this tightly bonded structure, it is going to spin, and the spin itself creates a field with a charge on it, and this charge then sets up a whole panorama or structure of likes and dislikes. So in order to achieve or get to a condition for transformation, this dynamic has to be reversed. And the way that this dynamic is reversed is that the spin that is obviously greater than zero, because it's causing this investment is causing a spin to occur. This spin has to approach or equal zero so that the bonded structure can then be debonded and something else arise in its place. So if I were to put together a second equation, if you will, then I would say that in general, any tightly bonded structure, and I'll just represent it, the tightly bonded structure by PVM, which has a spin on it. I'll represent the spin by SP, and that spin is greater than zero. So if this is true, then we have a dynamic that is moving us away from the possibility of transformation, because there's an investment in some things that we don't have control over. And basically what we want to occur is, we want, in order for the deconstruction of this tightly bonded structure to occur, we want the PVM to be subject to a spin which is equal to zero. So basically the spin stops, and as a result of that, there's a possibility of deconstructing this. So I would say that that is a second equation, and if these conditions can be true, then what I would say is that there is a possibility for the fullness that is resident in any area of space to emerge and basically replace or change the negative physical, vital, and mental orientations that are the natural first steps out of this emergence, or in this emergence. So a third condition or equation that I would posit is that there's the emergence of fullness, which then allows basically the negative mental, vital, and physical orientations to more easily transform into the positive mental, vital, and physical orientations. So in a sense, these would be the three equations, and again from a mathematical perspective, that would allow transformation to occur.